YouTube, what's happening? It is Thursday, June 13th. There are only 11 games to talk about in baseball today. But first, drop a like, subscribe if you haven't, because somehow, some way, we ended up positive last night. 8-7 overall, 0.01 units of profit. I made a whole dollar, and we will celebrate that because that number is green. As long as it's not red, we are happy. I don't care if it's a penny. If I am making money instead of paying out money, that's a good day in my book. For the week, 11.3 units still up, over 57 units in the past 30 days. The model has been crushing it with the stats. It has been great. We have 11 games to talk about. Let's go ahead and jump into that first one. First game, we got Atlanta and Baltimore. We got Lopez with a 185 against Irvin with a 287. Pretty decent pitching matchup off the get from what we see here. Looking at the odds, pretty much a pick 'em. A little bit of favorite for the Orioles at home. 9.5 total with some juice on that under. Looking at the data, nervy 55.4%, not worth talking about. Atlanta is awful offensively, are they not? 2.3 runs a game in their last three for 30th, and it isn't just recent. They've been terrible the last 2 weeks. 3.3 and 2.7 runs a game. The trend line's going down even worse. They are awful offensively. Baltimore, 4.3 runs a game for 14th. They are also trending down as well, but not nearly bad as Atlanta is. Atlanta's batting 194, and you can see batting average wise, they're just been awful the past 2 weeks as well. So Atlanta is struggling offensively. Baltimore's batting 263 as a team for 10th. So we have clear advantages for runs and batting average for Baltimore. Strikeouts, 8.3 for Atlanta, 9.0 for Baltimore, so no real advantages there. Looking over, also Atlanta, and notice they are on a 5-game losing streak. Baltimore's on a 6-game winning streak. Baseball's very streaky. We like to watch those. So let's pop over to pitching matchups now. Atlanta sending out Lopez with a 185 with a 109 whip. Decent games. 2 earned, 1, 2, 2, 0, 1. Dude's good. He doesn't give up much. That's what we like to see when we want to back somebody. Only problem is I can't back that offense. I mean, you saw the numbers, right? They're terrible. On the other side, Irvin, on the other hand, 2, 2, 0, 3, 0, 2. To me, they're the same dude. They do the same. There's not really a big key advantage in the pitching matchup. The only matchup is the data. The data is screaming Atlanta is terrible. That's all I see. So for this one, we have Orioles slight favorite at home. I'm going to take Baltimore on the money line because of the data, because of the winning streak. Fading Atlanta's data, fading Atlanta on the losing streak. Pitching, they're the same either way. So we're just going to take Baltimore and move on to the next game. All right, next up, we got Washington and Detroit. We got Patrick Corbin with a 6.15 going up against Mize with a 4.73. Betting at my app shows -155 Tigers money line, over under 8.5 with some juice on that over. Looking at the data, we see 63.6 nerfy for these two teams. Not really worth looking at. Washington, 6.7 runs a game in their last 3 for 6th best. Detroit, 6.3 runs a game for 7th best. So both teams top 7 in getting dudes across the plate in the last 3 games. Batting averages, Washington, 253 for 14th, 270 for Detroit for 9th. Bottom top 15 for batting averages, not bad. 7.7, 8.3 for strikeouts. No real advantages there. So we have two teams. Offensively, they're about the same, but they're also doing really good. So we want to come over and see how pitching is going to work. And we see good old Patrick Corbin, Mr. Give up 6 runs in an inning himself. 6, 2, 3, 8, 2, 1. He has times he can pitch decently, and he has times he can just blow up and give up 6, 7, 8 runs in an inning. So we know he's going to give up something. He's not going to put up a goose egg. It just ain't going to happen with him. So Mize, on the other hand, 3, 2, 3, 6, 2, same story. He could blow up, but he's not going to put up a goose egg. So we got 2 pitchers we know we're going to give up at least a run or 2. Then we got 2 offenses that are sitting here in the top 7 and recently in runs. They got decent batting averages. They're not striking out. So the main thing I'm going to take in this one, I'm going to take the over 8.5 in this one. 135 is a terrible juice. I'm going to find a different place to get that, obviously, but we're going to take 8.5. For that for sure. Now on the side itself, I cannot really begin to tell you because Washington's on a 5-game winning streak. Detroit's on a 2-game losing streak. I would lean Washington, but I'm not backing. Patrick Corbin's in my list of dudes I will not back. Him, Lance Lynn, and Manoah. Those are my 3. I just refuse to back. So So we're not going to take Washington money line. We're just going to take that over and hope and sit back and just root for the runs. So over and next game. All right, next up we got New York and Kansas City. Cortez with a 3.68 against Marsh with a 4.05. Betting, Yankees are favored on the road pretty decently. 10.5 is total with some, actually no juice on this one at all. Looking at the data, 38% Nerfy, not really worth looking at. It needs to be 30 or lower for me to look at a Yerfy because of how often they score in the first inning. We're not there yet. I haven't actually placed a single Yerfy bet this entire year. So we haven't had anything come close. So, but we have done plenty of Nerfies. So this one, Yankees 4-game winning streak, Royals 4-game losing streak. 8.3 runs a game for New York for second in the last 3 games, but they've been on fire the last 2 weeks. KC has fallen off a cliff. They went from top 5 to bottom 5. Now they're getting 2.7 runs a game. 286 batting for New York, 232 for Kansas City, advantage New York. 6.3 versus 5.7. They're both top 5 in strikeouts. No real advantage for that one, so we're not looking at strikeout props. Looking at the pitching, we got Cortez with 4.32, 4 decent numbers. He's given up the most he had in a while. It was Dodgers. 7 hits, 6 hits. We know we're getting with it. He might give up a couple runs here and there. Kansas City's offense is struggling, so I think Cortez might have a better game than he did against the Dodgers. Marsh is the one we want to look at, though. Marsh gave up 4, 5, 5, 3, and it was Seattle, San Diego, Minnesota, and Detroit. And now he gets to face the Yankees, who have been just teeing off on pitchers in the last 2 weeks. So that's going to be fun for him. I'm sure he's going to do great today. Amazing things, sure. Looking at these data again, Yankees on fire, KC struggling, Marsh is struggling, Cortez is the pitching matchup here. So we have the Yankees with the advantage in pitching, the advantage in runs, the advantage in batting average. So they have overall all the advantages. The line makes sense. I am going to take the Yankees money line in this one. I took Yankees run line yesterday also. I might do the same thing again just because of the trends. Yankees up, KC down. We'll do that. We'll take Yankees money line, Yankees run line. We're going to pass on that over-under because 10.5 is just ridiculous. That's too much. We'll pass on that and move on to the next game. Next up, Pittsburgh and St. Louis. We got Keller with a 3.16 against good old Lance Lynn with a 3.58. Looking at the betting side, we see that is a pick 'em in this one. 8.5 the total. No juice either way on that one. Let's look at the data. We see 64% Nerfy, not really worth talking about. Neither team's on a streak to worry about. 3 runs a game for Pittsburgh for 22nd, 3.3 for St. Louis for 18th. Both teams bottom half of the majors in the last 3 games. They're struggling. Pittsburgh is batting 192 as a team in the last 3 games for 28th. St. Louis is batting 290 as a team for 5th. So we got clear advantage St. Louis in the batting. Strikeouts are both striking out pretty good. 9.3 versus 9.7. Bottom 6 for both teams. We will look at some strikeout pitcher props in this one. Yes, including Lance Lynn strikeout props. We'll look at it. So, you know what? Let's go ahead and jump over there now. Keller, we see his last game, he balled out. 7 innings, nothing basically. 8 Ks, 4-3. Dude's been striking out like crazy the last 2 games. So we're definitely going to check out his K prop as well to see what we can get against St. Louis. Their batting average is high, but also their strikeouts are high. So we're going to look at this and see what we got here. Just as a pitcher himself, 0, 1, 1, 2, 0. Dude's been on fire. Dude's a beast. Lance Lynn, on the other hand, he did what Lance Lynn does. He gives up runs. He gave up 4 against Colorado. He pitched 4 good innings against Philly. He only gave up nothing. Only 3 hits. But he's on my list. Everyone has their list of people and teams you just don't back. He's one of them. I just said it earlier. I told you my 3 dudes I do not back. So I just cannot in good faith take St. Louis on the money line if this guy's pitching. Can't do it. Sorry. You can. I'm not. I'm passing on that. So we are going to, but I will look at K props for him. You know, I'm not going to be a hater. I will look at some K props for both sides. We see 6, 4, 5, 5, 5, 5. We know where we're good. And he's going to get probably about 5 or 6 strikeouts. If it's 4.5, sure, I'll take the over. It's 5.5. I better have some good juice. So we'll look at the K props for both of these. I really can't tell you which side to take in this one because the numbers, as you see, the only thing we have is St. Louis is batting better. That's all he says. But what does that mean? Keller pitched amazing last game. Lance Lynn didn't, so we're going to pass on the side. We're going to pass on the total. I'm going to look at strikeout props for both and move on to the next game. All right, next up, we got Chicago and Tampa Bay. We got Steele with 3.65, Bradley 5.17. Looking at the odds, Cubs slightly favored, 7.5 juice on that over. Looking at the data, 59.2% nerfy. Neither team's on a winning streak. They're both at 3.3 runs a game, which is 18th in the majors during the last 3 games. We can see Tampa's trending up, Chicago's trending up slightly, so nothing really stands out there. Cubs are batting 275 as a team, which is good. Tampa 202, so we have advantage Chicago in the batting average. Strikeouts 8.3 versus 9.3. We will look at steal strikeout props a little bit just to see what we got going on, see if anything stands out there. Looking at the pitching, let's jump there now. Steele, last few games, 7-5, 8-5, 7. So we see he can strike out people. We like to see that. I am going to look at his K prop. If it's 5.5, probably I will. If it's 6.5, I'll pass on it. I'm not going to do it. But if it's 5.5 or higher, yeah, look at the juice on it. See what I got. On the actual games, 1-1-0. He had a couple rough starts in May, but outside of his last 3 starts have been pretty decent starts. For Taj over here, he Baltimore back-to-back games. First game, they roughed him up, 9-9. And then he came out 3 with 1, played much better the second time. Before that, great game against KC, and then Boston got him pretty hard. So he's up and down at best. That's the best way to put it. He's a roller coaster. So you're going to enjoy the ride either way. For Steele, I would say Steele has the advantage in this one. We look at the data, we see that the Cubs have the advantage in batting, but they don't have the run advantage because they're both equal on runs. They're both in the bottom half. They're struggling to score runs. 3.3 is not good. You're struggling. So with this one, with the way the pick'em is, the way the odds are, nothing is really standing out in this one. We're going to look at Steele strikeout props. That's it. Move on to the next game. Next up, we got Philly and the Red Sox. We got Nola with a 2.78 and Hawk with a 1.91. Great pitching matchup off the jump. Looking at the odds, Philly slight favorite, 8.5 is total on this one. Looking at the data, 39.6 nerfy. Neither team's on a winning streak. They're both getting 5 runs a game in their last 3 games for 9th in the majors. 255 batting for Philly for 13th, 260 for Boston, so no advantage here. They're both 8.0 and 7.7 strikeouts. They're basically mirroring each other. These teams are both doing great offensively. We'd not say great. They're doing really good offensively. Looking at pitching, we already know it's going to be a good pitching matchup. Start with Hawk, 2-1, 1-0, 1-3, beast numbers, beast. Yeah, dude's pitching great. Nola, 0, 2, 2, 2, 2, 0, and then 4 way back early May. That's how many was that? 6 games ago? Yeah, no. So the way that the pitching matchup, I would say, is pretty equal. The data you can see is pretty equal. The line says it's pretty equal. I like to bet on trends and statistical advantages, and neither side has any advantages in this one. So this entire game was just going to be a pass. All right, next up, we got Miami and the New York Mets. We got Munoz with a 5.95 against Severino with a 3.25. Betting markets have the Mets favored pretty decently at home, 8.5 with the total. Looking at the data, 66.666% on the nerfy, not worth looking at. Neither team's on a streak. Miami 3.7 runs a game for 17th in the majors last 3. New York 6 runs a game for 8, so advantage on the Mets. Look, batting average 192 for Miami for 28th, 240 for New York. That is 18th, so we have advantage New York on the batting average as well. Strikeouts 10 versus 7.7. Again, advantage New York. We will be looking at New York. So we'll look at Severino strikeout props because of how poorly Miami is swinging the bat and striking out. So let's pop on over there. Let's start with Severino. Severino's pitching for the Mets, 3.25 of the 1.14. His last 2 games, 4, 4, 6, 3, 4, 6. It's not looking good on strikeout props, to be honest, unless you're going to give me a 3.5. If I can find a 3.5, sure. If you try to say 4.5, I'm going to pass on that because the best he had was a 6. So we have a very narrow window of opportunity here. So, but if they give me a 3.5, I'll take it. Sure, because he's going to give us at least 4, it looks like. Outside of 1 game, he got 4. So stat-wise, 1, 4, 1, 5, 2, 4. He's been prone to give up some runs here and there, not too much. Looking at Munoz, only pitched in a handful of games so far. 5.95 with a 1.42. 4, 4, 6 on his innings, 4 runs, 6 runs, 1 runs. He gives up runs. He doesn't pitch that many innings. He does strike out though. 3, 5, and 7. He's going to give up some. So we know what we get here. So the fact that the data is leaning New York, I would say the pitching is obviously leaning New York as well because Severino is clearly better than Munoz here. I'm going to take New York on the money line in a parlay piece. Straight up, 190 is a lot to take. Unless I get a much better juice somewhere else, I'm not going to take them straight up. But I will parlay piece them. We're not going to take a total because I don't trust Miami's offense to help get it over, and I don't trust the Mets to keep it under, so we're going to pass on that. So yeah, New York money line and Severino K props if there's like a 3.5. I'm not going anything crazy. And next game. All right, next up we got Oakland and Minnesota. We got Dino with a 5-2-3 against Ryan with a 3-3-0. Looking at the betting side, Twins decently heavy favorite at home. Obviously makes sense because the stats coming up, 8.5 your total with some juice on that under. Data 48.2 nervy, that's a pass. Oakland 5-game losing streak. Minnesota 1-game winning streak after absolutely obliterating Colorado was what, 17 runs. They scored things Iowa football could only dream of scoring yesterday. So I saw that a tweet, it made me laugh. Had to say it again. So 2.7 runs for Oakland for 25th. Minnesota 8.7. When you score 17 runs, that's going to help in your 3-game average. Either way, they're still, the bats are on fire. Look at their batting average in the last 3 games, batting 371 as a team. They are hitting everything. They're not striking out, 4.7. Oakland, 257 average is not bad. They just can't get the dudes across the plate. 2.7 is not going to get it done. And 14 strikeouts a game for 30th. Oakland has been just, they fell off a cliff. They're swinging everything. So 100% we're going to look at some Joe Ryan strikeout props. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's pop on over. Joe Ryan, what you got? 3-3 with a .97 whip. Last few games, 8, 4, 9, 6, 5, 7. I don't care what his strikeout prop is. If you're striking out 14 times a game as professionals for 30th and you just stay 30th, I don't care what your line is. I'm taking Joe Ryan. I don't care the number. He's going in my strikeout props today. Looking back at the pitching side, let's go back to actual look at the games themselves. 2 earned, 5 earned. Got a little roughed up against Houston. 1-0-4 look at New York. So he's pretty decent. Has a couple outlier games. Medina, on the other hand, pitching for Oakland, had a great first game. 5.2 with 2 hits and nothing, but then gave up 6 to Toronto the next time. So we don't know. He has a great game and a bad game, so we'll see what happens. This is the 3rd point. We'll see what we get. So based on everything, based on the data clearly leans Minnesota in this one. The pitching obviously leans Minnesota as well. On this, I'll put Minnesota in a parlay piece just because the stats line up. Do I want to run line Minnesota? Ooh, yeah. I think if I'm taking Ryan props for strikeouts and Minnesota's offense is this strong against Oakland, I'll take Minnesota run line. I'm not going to take a total on this one. I don't trust the over under here because I don't know if Oakland can help with that. If they even need any help. Minnesota might do it themselves, but I will pass on a total. We'll take Minnesota money line, parlay piece, run line, and some Ryan props, some strikeout props, and move on to the next game. Next up, Angels and Diamondbacks. We got Canning with a 4.95 against Fat with a 4.60. Looking at the betting side, Diamondbacks pretty decently favored at home. 8.5 is total, a little bit of juice on that over. Looking at the data, 46.2 nerfy pass. Neither team's got a streak to worry about. Both getting 7 runs a game in their last 3 to put him 3rd in the majors, tied for 3rd. Angels are 3rd, batting 333 as a team. Meanwhile, Arizona's 2nd, batting 340 as a team. I feel bad for pitchers going up against either of these teams right now because both bats are on fire in this one. They're not even striking out, 7 versus 6, so there's no strikeouts here to worry about. Looking at the poor pitchers that have to face these two, Canning, 3-1, 3-2-1. He gives up some runs. I have a feeling he's going to give up some today because the bats are so hot. Buffett, on the other hand, 5-4-4-2-1. We have pitchers that give up some runs. We have offenses that are muy caliente right now. We have an over of 8.5 with a little bit of juice on it. I'm taking the 8.5. I don't care. Just like yesterday, the offenses are hot. The pitchers are, they're not bad, but they're not terrible, but they're not great either. So they're just, you take it and mix it with fire, you get overs. So I'm taking over 8.5 in this one. We're not going to take a side because both, as you see, the teams are equal offensively. The pitching is, they're both So we're going to take the over 8.5, sit back, cheer for some runs, and move on to the next game. Next up, White Sox and Mariners. We got Crochet with a 3.33 and gives Castillo with a 3.35. Betting side, Mariners pretty decently favored at home. 6.5 is the total in this one with a little bit of juice on the under here. Looking at the data, 61.2 nerfy. Sox on a 4-game losing streak. Seattle 4-game winning streak. 2.7 runs for Chicago, 4.7 for Seattle. That's 25th and 12th, advantage Seattle. Batting averages, about the same. 212 or 227, that's a 3-spot difference, no real advantage. And 10.7 strikeouts for Chicago, meanwhile 7.7 for Seattle. Typically, I wouldn't look at strikeout props for Seattle because they're doing decently, but they are going up against this beast who, in my opinion, is going to get traded to some powerhouse team because dude is a beast wearing just the wrong jersey. Someone's going to offer something for him, like probably a bunch of prospects, and they'll probably get rid of him. So, because dude has been absolutely balling out. Look at those numbers. Dude, yeah, he is going to be a key pickup at the trade deadline, I bet. If I was a team, I'd be trying to trade for him because dude's a monster. 10, 8, 11, 11, 6. We'll look at his strikeout props. I don't care how good Seattle swing the bat. Dude is a beast. I'm looking at his strikeout props. If I get a good number, I am jumping all over it. As a pitcher, he's great. The numbers are good. I don't see how this line is Seattle such heavy favorites because of him pitching. I mean, come on. Can't do that. Castillo, on the other hand, look at his numbers. We should look at his strikeout props because of how poorly Chicago's striking out. We see that he is 4, 6, 6, 3, 2. His completely depends on what the number is. If it's like a 4.5, maybe. So we're not pushing it with him because he's not really a strikeout dude. We're just trying to see what that number is based on what we got and how poorly Chicago's swinging the bats. Overall, as a pitcher, 5 earned against KC, nothing. 2, 2, 2, 2. White Sox had the pitching advantage all day in this one, which is way better of a pitcher, in my opinion. Data-wise, you see that's about the same. Seattle has 2 runs a game advantage, but that's it. Now they're going to get someone who's probably going to shut them down a little bit. I see why the total 6.5. So we're taking Crochet K props. We're going to look at that. If I wouldn't touch Seattle today, this is one of those games where I would take. Brother, I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to put something on the White Sox money line in this one. Ooh. Not plus 1.5 either. I want money line. I'm gonna be greedy today, so we're gonna sprinkle a little bit on that Chicago money line. We're gonna back the boy Crochet over here on his K props. We'll look at Castillo if we got some K props, and we'll just move on to the next game. All right, last up we got Texas and the Dodgers. We got Lorenzo with a 305 against bullpen specialist Grove with a 4.72. Betting markets somehow have the Dodgers minus 200, even though it's clearly a bullpen game for the Dodgers. Interesting. 8.5 is the total. Looking at the data, we see 32.7% Nerfy. Might be one of the lowest ones I've seen this year. Texas, 4 runs a game for 16th. Dodgers, 7 runs a game for 3rd. We have advantage Dodgers. Batting average, 227 versus 300. Advantage Dodgers. 5.3, 6.7 strikeouts, advantage Texas, slightly, not much really. In this one, Dodgers clearly have the advantage offensively, but the problem is, it is a bullpen game, obviously, because Grove is starting. When Grove starts, he goes 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1. That's just what he does. It's going to be a bullpen game. But he's good. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's a good pitcher. He comes out. He doesn't give up anything, so good for him. Lorenzen's pitching for Texas, 2-0, 1-2-0. Typically, when I see these two stats, I want to lean under, but then you have the Dodgers' offense has been hot. This is one of those weird ones. I hate betting bullpen games because you just don't know who's coming out next. You get a starter, you can look him up and say, oh, he's going to pitch an inning or two. Great. What about the next 3 guys that roll in there? Someone's probably going to give up like 4 runs, probably. Don't know. Can't do it. So with the way the line's set up, I don't trust LA at all because of their pitching setup. I don't trust any of this. This entire game is going to be a pass. That's it. 11 games broken down, stats given. If you have thoughts, opinions, questions, pop them in the comments below. Drop a like, subscribe if you haven't, and we will see you tomorrow. Peace.